Good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, or good evening, or good night. This is Jen at JensArtyInclinations, a place to create, share, and play.
Hello everyone. Alrighty, I'm just doing some specimen cards. I'm doing 3 where the window is different in each of them. So you can just see 3 different ways to do the window. I am just using a punch. Now what I've got here is an 8x8 piece of scrap paper. I am just folding it in half and I'm working out, that means I could have 3 cards that whatever 8 divided by 3 is. So, I'm going, okay, roughly just over the 2 inches. Not quite the 3 inches for each of them. So they're not all exactly right. But if you like measuring at home, go ahead and make them exactly the same width and so forth. I think it's nice to have them a little bit different. All right, so then I just had, this is just packaging. This was holding what was it? It was a stamp, a new stamp that I got. And this was the packaging for the stamp. Works beautifully as a little window. If I've, folded it in 3 and then I'm just doing a rough cut on the edge just to cut it down so that it will fit within the size of those little pieces I have just trimmed up. So that's all I'm doing. So now I'm just cutting off the edges just to get them all roughly the same. And then if I cut the tops and bottoms, I'll have 6 pieces of plastic that I can use. Now I don't actually use all 6 because I do each of these slightly differently. So that's okay. So you can just see here I'm just slicing off the top edge because they're all a little bit longer. And so then we're ready. I've got all those little pieces and they are of the size that fits within my little slide edge, I guess you'd call it. So I'm getting my square punch and I'm just punching out a little hole. So now you've got like a little slide that will be the specimen card. I'm saving those square offcuts. I'm going to use them as tabs at the end. So all 3, I've just eyeballed it in the centre and it worked fine. Again, as I like to do, rounding my corners. And I love rounding all my corners. I just think it gives them a nice finish, but particularly with specimen slides, I feel like that looks right. If you've got some little notches, you can also do little notches out of them or slice some because, on real slides, you do get those little notches on the top and bottom sometimes. So yeah, you can have a lot of fun with these. Then I just inked around the edges. Sorry, quite a bit of background noise here today. We've got one son singing in the shower and the other son just singing generally. Anyway, this one's a bit cool. You can actually stamp with waterproof ink as long as you're willing to wait for it to dry with all sorts of little things inside your slide. So with this one, I decided, so I'm doing it straight onto the plastic. And now I've got a bit of bubble wrap and I'm just going to put that over the top. And I decided this looked a little bit like, I don't know, a close-up of cells or something like that in a specimen. I just thought, something a little bit different inside this particular slide. So that's the first one. I'm just clipping it to the slide and popping it aside to dry. All right, the next one, I'm putting down my plastic on the back. I'm just using double-sided tape. I do find double-sided tape when you're doing the windows with the plastic is great. It's the best thing to stick them down. I kind of go around the edge of the plastic, not that that's entirely necessary, as long as you get it around that window because you want it to be nice and close. Using my little bone folder, this is a little squat one, and then I had a cutout, so I stuck it in the window. I should have used one of Witchcraft Do You Do butterflies because then you can print them on both sides, but that's all right. I stuck it on the window, the butterfly, with just a piece of double-sided tape, so I think it's okay if the slide looks like it's got a back. So then again, popping around the window, I put a piece of plastic over the top so the butterfly is encased. And then I'm using my art glitter glue around the edge and that will stick both sides of the slide down. I find it's great when I cut these kind of things out on a fold because it will line up easier. It's sort of already got that hinge to make it line up nicely. And on this one, I used the kind of scrapbooking that people could still use the back of this for journaling. That's not an issue at all. But now I'm just sticking it down, trying to make sure that no glue goes into that window, so going from the centre out. And there you are, there's the first kind of window that you can do. Right, so next one. Obviously, just a standard image. So I had this image and I figured that that little bit there would work perfectly within the window. I cut above that next image just in case I needed that sometime later. And you don't need to be too accurate. As long as it's going to fit inside where you're folding over, you'll be fine. So I did a single piece of double-sided tape on the top, and then see how I've got the back away while I'm just making sure it's in the right spot, and then I can fold that back down and it's catching on that double-sided tape. Now I just secured a couple more pieces of double-sided tape around the window just to hold it down, and I put glue all around the top and popped the whole thing down. Now I didn't put a piece of plastic over this, I just left it as is, but if you do, then you obviously have another element. So there you go, window number 2, just a picture. So easy. And then window number 3 is with the stamped piece of plastic. So I'm putting it ink side down and I'm using a piece of tracing paper behind this one. Now that I quite like using in specimen slides because I love how it gives you that opaque feeling and you see the image just a little bit clearer. So there you are. That is slide number 3 and you can see it really nicely. So window number 3. Now all we got to do now is just decorate them up. So I've kept the decoration super easy. There we are, 1, 2, 3. So all clear, just with a picture and then stamping on the plastic and using a bit of tracing paper behind it just to give it that extra edge. Alrighty, to do the tabs at the top, remember I kept the little squares. This is why I kept the little squares. Folded them in half, inked around the edge, and then stuck them on top. And voila, we've got a little tab. Gives it a nice little finishing touch, I think. It does anyway. You may be looking at this and going, you've got rocks in your head, Jen. What are you talking about? And look here, I'm just eyeballing rounded corners. Then you don't have to be with the special tools, you know, you can do it anyway. Along the bottom, I'm using just a little bit of lace. I'm loving this lace at the moment. Have you noticed I've been using it in lots of things? I often rebuy different colours of it. And then I have a little label. That's one of Witchcraft Do You Do labels. And then on the top, I just popped a little bit of lace over that tab. Love that finish. Love a staple that you can see. You know, if you're in a lab, I'm sure you don't pretty off your things. All right, second one, I just popped a little label in the top tab, a really tiny one. And again, I use the lace and the label at the bottom. Love how that finish looks. Third one, lace and label at the bottom. As I said, I kept them all simple. So even though they've got different windows, there's a uniformity between them if I wanted to put them in the same book. And at the top, on the tab, I just popped the lace on this one again. And as I said again, with a nice staple. So there you are. That's all 3 of them. I hope you enjoyed them. So quick and simple. If you don't have a punch for your square, you can always use a knife, remember? See you next time, everyone. Take care. I'd love it if you could leave me a comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, keep creating. Enjoy.